Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're watching. It's another episode of Millionaires Are Made, where we believe you can be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. We do physical, mental, intellectual, social, spiritual, and financial. But today, this episode is focusing on your intellectual health with reading. Super exciting. This show is built on the fundamental belief that every person you meet knows something you don't, and that there's something to be learned from everyone. So we have brought 3 awesome guests on, and in the spirit of authenticity and make sure we have no bias or persuasion, I don't even know who the guests are, nor have met them until about 15 minutes before the show. And then we talk about a little bit of our tips, but really it's raw and unedited, so you can get different perspectives from all around the world. Today, we do have a couple international guests, I believe. We'll talk more about that when we get there. And we have 2 sponsors that I wanted to show. I am literally sitting on the floor right now to show you our InstaFarm. This is one of our sponsors. They're awesome. Fully automated grow systems. You literally just open up these little seed packs, fill the water, and then eat it when it's ready. It's amazing. Our second sponsor is a podcast called Grief, Let's Talk About It by Tony Lynch. If you haven't met Tony Lynch, he's actually going to be a guest next week on our next episode later on today. We'll be sharing the link to that right now. Go check out his podcast. We've all dealt with grief at some point in our life, some more than others. And he is kind of an expert. If you ever hear his story, it is full of grief, and he is ready to share it with you. So check out Tony Lynch. Go buy an InstaFarm. We'll have those links shared for you. Let's see what else we got. Cool. Guests, if you want to be a guest on our show, it's easy to sign up. Just go to millionairesaremade.com. That link is in the chat, and sign up and find an episode that fits for you. We have episodes and topics on just about everything. If you have a topic idea, let us know. We're always looking for new topics. We will go out, find 3 people that have expert advice on it, and then we'll throw an episode together so you can learn more about whatever topic you want and meet some people also are interested in that topic. And as always, if you like our show and what we do, please like it, comment, and share it with all your friends. Subscribe on YouTube. Definitely helps us keep doing this and keep promoting it. Without further ado, reading, intellectual health. So this is something that I learned from when I did 75 Hard, but the first thing you do when you wake up is read 10 pages nonfiction. They don't have a time period or anything like that that forces you during 75 Hard, but I found that in the morning, if you read a nonfiction, that stuff stays with you all day. I also do a gratitude and visualization, so I read first because it kind of gets me in that mindset of growth and learning and that kind of healthy intellectual health. And then when I do my visualization for the day, I can focus on what I need to do, focus on tasks I want to make sure I have done, and then obviously some gratitude there for my spiritual health. But we're focused on the intellectual health. So without further ado, we're going to bring out our first guest here. His name is Craig, and he knows something about reading. Craig, how you doing today?
How you doing? Thanks for the opportunity. Great. Appreciate it.
I'm excited to have you, but I have a question for you. Who are you?
Who am I? I'm a guy that's passionate about helping people learn who they are.
Woo.
And, I was a 9/11 respondent to the World Trade Center, and I developed cancer. And I had a 10-year battle. And eventually they took my mid and lower lobe, my right lung out. And I've been fighting just for people to understand that they don't have time. So whatever it is that you're working on, execute on it now. Take the action. Don't think about it. Don't worry about the roadmap. Don't worry about any of this stuff other than executing on your ideas. That's what I'm passionate about.
All right. Well, that's powerful. That just re-energized me. I'm like, damn, I'm going to get way more done today than I planned. All right, let's do it. All right, Craig. Well, I've got a super important question for you. If I was wandering through my life journey and I was like, I want to improve my intellectual health and I wanted to use reading, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I would say focus on something that you have a vested interest in, and you will learn that much faster.
Okay, so reading and focus on a topic that you like.
Topic that you like. Absolutely.
So playing pogs or video games or whatever it is, just read something that you enjoy.
Absolutely, because that's how you learn faster. So when you have a vested interest in something, there's no hindrance because you're dedicated and you're motivated to learn that subject. So you're going to digest everything that you put in front of your face. That's the way the mind works.
Very cool. I like that. All right. Well, where on your life journey did you learn that? And also include the time you taught people to read because we want to hear about that.
So I've lived in different cultures, and I had friends that were master farmers. They were amazing botanists. They were amazing scientists with no education, and I taught some of them how to read with basic children books. And it's one of those things that you can go through in life to see somebody not be able to read but be a master at their craft about creating things, splicing genes and stuff like that in plants. So I just found it fascinating to help people motivate and inspire to read something that they're basically interested in. And if you have to go back to the basics, that's what you have to do. You have to learn from pictures because pictures will give you that intellectual cue to start reading about the things that are there. That makes any sense.
Learn from pictures. Okay. All right. All right. So, what would you be reading right now? Are you reading right now?
Yeah, Master of the Samurai. What I've been reading now is more things that I'm interested in. I was in martial arts pretty much my whole life, and then when I started battling cancer, I couldn't participate anymore because I physically couldn't get out of bed for weeks, months, and sometimes quarters of a time. I just realized that the only way I'm going to get out of my situation, I was a carpenter and mason at the time and into real estate, was to learn something new. So I had to start reading and digesting, things that interested me, how to learn the internet, how to use certain social media the way it should be used properly. So I just started reading and digesting as many books as I possibly could. Yeah, that's it.
Do you have a top three favorite books you've ever read?
Yeah, for me, The Art of War.
Okay.
That gives you all, knowing terrain, and I think that's very important. Is knowing the terrain of the business or venture that you're going to be in. Everybody pays a vig, which is mine. It's my life story, and then also,
Well, can you say that again, real clearly?
sure, everybody pays a vig. That's mine.
All
That I
right. Go
and
buy that book, everyone.
and the next one I would definitely say is How Would Love Respond by Keurig Ashley.
How would love respond? All right, I wrote all three of those down. I'm gonna put them on my list of 400 books I need to read. It's gonna be great. Cool, Craig. Well, you got about 30 seconds left. Any last little bits before we go on to the next guest?
Yeah, I would say, I've lived in certain cultures and stuff, and what I realized was nobody laughs or cries in a different language. So I would encourage people to help other people read, which fosters in writing, and writing your own book can be quite cathartic. So I would encourage people to just have a vested interest in the things that they do daily.
Very cool. Awesome, Craig. That's powerful. I love it. Definitely motivational. We're going to send you backstage and bring out Shani.
Hello, it's so
Shani,
exciting to see you.
how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you're in Israel right now, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, tell us who you are.
Wow, this answer changed all day. Today, I feel that I learn from the life. All things, people, what I meet, I learn from it.
Learning from life. Okay. All right. Well, you ready for your tip? If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with reading, what piece of advice would you give me?
I want to say you little bit secret about me. I am a spiritual life coach, and my job started from reading
Ooh. What
specific
did you
book.
read?
specific book lead me to do it.
Which book? Which book?
Mr. Vertigo.
Mystic or Mister?
Mr. Vertigo.
Mr. Vertigo. Okay, how did that book help you? Well, first off, let's go over what is your piece of advice? If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with reading, what small piece of advice would you give me?
So the tip that helped me to read Mr. Vertigo is the tip I want to show today. Reading
Okay.
is combined between something different layers. Your emotional, your mind, your body, all of this is reading. All of them in separate parts. And I believe to combine about them. If you read the sign that the reality sent you, a song that you think about it with nowhere, or people you think about him and you meet him, and something like that, everything connection. Read the reality, and the reality can show you which kind of information you need. When I got the book, Mr. Vertigo, it was something that so scary to do, and this book talked about how to overcome it. I didn't know this book is exist, and with nowhere, I got him for my birthday.
Very cool. Who gave it to
And
you?
My husband today, and he was my friends in this time.
And he changed your life with a book.
Yes.
Look at that. Look at that. Reading changes lives. All right, everyone. For birthdays this year, let's all just give books. That would actually be really cool. I support that.
After I read this book, maybe 40 times, I think. This is my Bible, this book. And after that I read it, I decided to put all my career outside the frame. I started to learn law, and today I'm a spiritual life coach, and I help people to pass their life lessons and be one with their soul and the tasks that they need to do in this world. All of this started with Mr. Vertigo book.
All of that from Mr. Vertigo. That's wild. Very cool, though. Very cool. Awesome. That's a great story, Shani. Any last little bits of information before we move on to the next guest?
I invite all the people that watch it to enter to my website. I guess it will be in the comments, and read my book that I wrote according to Mr. Vertigo. It's called A Healing Look at Healing, and all healing process you have in your life, you can use it to improve a health perspective about the process. The perspective
Very cool. Okay.
is something that changed many healing process.
Perspective changes your healing. I agree with that. Well, awesome, Shani. We're going to move on to the next guest, and we'll put you backstage for a little bit.
Okay.
And we'll move on to Jackson.
Hey.
Jackson, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Austin. Thanks for hosting.
Sorry, that question doesn't count. Here's a real question. Hey, Jackson, who are you?
Great question. My name is Jackson. I'm a single father of 4. I am the founder of First Class Business and the host of Vision Pros Live, as well as the Power Take, 2 podcasts to help businesses, 1, get their vision out, 2, learn about relevant business news that can help them with growth.
Awesome. Very cool. Those links should be coming up in the chat here. Perfect. There they go. All right, Jackson. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with reading, what piece of advice would you give me?
I'll definitely give one for the advanced readers, and that would be to be very selective about what you read. By choosing to look at mentors, people you want to emulate, people want to become like, and start to read books associated with that path or journey of purpose that you may already be on.
So that almost ties a little bit into Craig's tip, something you're interested in. So it's someone that you're interested in or someone you're interested in being, at least in a certain aspect. I like that tip. So if all you care about is money and you want to be rich, just start reading Bezos and Grant Cardone and all those guys. But if you want a little more spiritual, maybe Mr. Vertigo, that Shani told us about. So what happened on your life journey? Where did you learn that tip, Jackson?
I was I was getting recommended a lot of books by a lot of people, and by the time I had read like the third or fourth iteration of Rich Dad Poor Dad, like the watered down versions, I was like, this is a massive waste of time. And I didn't want to disrespect people, but I had gotten to a point of life where I had consumed so much and the more you learn, the more you can learn. It's one of my favorite quotes. But I realized, I need to be paying attention. What do my potential mentors, and you hit it well, my spiritual mentors, that's more of my focal point. How do I become my best self, personal development style? Who emulates that, and what are they reading? I just became very selective about what podcasts I listen to and what types of content I'm willing to consume.
Which type of content you're willing to consume in. So it's almost like with friends and family and whatnot, you have to set boundaries. So you only have people that you want on there. Now you're setting boundaries just on the media that you consume beyond social media.
Man. And as a single father of 4, I have to be very intentional about my time. Right. So it's very important to decide, okay, if I'm going to show up as my best self for people and I've got a limited amount of time, then I want to make sure that I use it super well.
That's awesome. Yeah, very good. So what book are you reading right now?
The books that I'm reading right now are Leadership and Self-Deception, Tribal Leadership, Hiring on Purpose, the Bible. I'm in Exodus right now. And what is my other one? A book called Invisible Chains. There was one more. It's called Heroic Parenting by C.J. Scarlett. Each one of those books are books that I dive into, and some of them will be read from cover to cover. Some of them will be scanned, depending on the need of the company. Like the Hiring on Purpose will be more of a scan and a reference back to on regular occasion. But those are all currently, I'm in the middle of every single one of them.
So how do you choose what book you're going to read at what time?
It's a good question. One, it depends on the purpose and intent of the book. My secret power on that, Austin, is actually meditation or prayer, whatever you want to call it. You can call it a banana if you want to, but the process of listening to my heart and my mind and what my deity is saying, that's going to guide me to, okay, it's time to dive into this. If I'm not getting that guidance, then I just know as a discipline, like I need to dive into the theories, the methodologies that are going to help me better serve people.
Cool. All right. So you kind of read with your gut instinct, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a masculine way to put it. Yes.
And some books you just breeze through a little bit, read a little, check it out. And then some books you really get into and read cover to cover.
Well, I wouldn't say breeze. Again, it's a matter of disciplining how to take the knowledge in. When I was in high school, I used Cliff Notes a lot. Like those books were almost worthless to me at the time. And so I would, you could say breeze through it, but there was still an intentional flow through that process. But there's some books that every single word, Tribal Leadership is one of the best leadership books I've ever read. And I've been in the first 50 pages of it, kind of reading it again, seeing how it works, because it talks about communication between 5 different phases of life and driving groups of 20 people at a time between each phase. It's extremely sophisticated. And so I spend more time on that book because it's kind of hard to pick up the concepts, but it's because it's super rich, not because it's confusing.
All right, I have a question for you here. One of our audience members just asked, suggest a book on how to be a better husband.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm definitely not the best husband in the world. I'll own that first. And I learned that the hard way. Boundaries in Marriage. You mentioned a great one. Boundaries in Marriage is a phenomenal book and will help. But I would say there's a movie called Fireproof. And there's a book I forgot associated with, but here's my best advice, what I needed to know. If you're not loving your spouse with an absolute heart of of true exercise where you're not exhausted at the end of the day. You're not really giving yourself the way that you should, the way that you can. It should feel like you worked out hard. There are muscles that you should be building. And so going through the motions, your muscles might deteriorate. Whereas if you're hitting it hard, love is an action and a verb. I was grateful for the book that taught me that. And I've never been able to find the title of that book since I lost it. And so I'm still on the look for it.
Shoot. Well, if anyone knows that, please comment and let us know so we can help Jackson on his search. Yeah. You said it's the book that goes with Fireproof?
Yeah, the concept that was mentioned in Fireproof, where one firefighter says to the other, man, you gotta really crush this, just like the gym, just like we hit in the gym. Give it your all, give everything you got to your marriage every single day. And I was really grateful for that advice. It changed the way I show up in relationships tremendously.
So just searching Fireproof on Amazon, we're sharing all those links and stuff. There is one called The Love Dare.
It's like that, the power of two or the power of love. I remember it had the word power in it, but yeah, I've literally looked like 150 times and asked probably 20 different therapists, hey, have you heard of this book? And here's the concept. And, it's just for me at the time. And once I find it again, I'll absolutely be adding it to my shelf again on my list. So.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, Jackson, we're going to move on. Yeah. Actually, you're going to stay here. We're going to bring Shani out and bring Craig out. And now we all get to talk about each other's tips. So, hey, Craig, can you real quickly refresh us what your tip was?
Yeah, you have to focus on things that you have a vested interest in. It'll bring on, learning that much faster.
Okay. Shani, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with it. It's also combined truly with my tips. I believe that when you follow your inner guidance, you can learn a lot. You can learn things about something you didn't like, and you can find that it will be likely than before. So it's good for my tip. It strong me.
I like it. Jackson, what are your thoughts on Craig's tip?
First off, Craig, thank you for your service. I really appreciate that. And absolutely, as far as the tip goes, it reminds me of one of my favorite assessments, StrengthsFinder 2.0, and how they opened my eyes to, if you focus, instead of focusing on your weaknesses, if you focus on your top 5 strengths, you're more likely to make rapid progress in life. And so vested interest in what you do, there's great wisdom in that.
Let's be devil's advocate. What if you want to read on something brand new you've never learned before to grow as a human?
Well, my number one strength is learner. So my favorite thing to do is learn things that I know about. So good move. And yes, I highly recommend learning about getting outside of your comfort zone.
Craig, what are your thoughts on that? Reading a book on something you don't know anything about. Maybe you have shitty social health, and so now you have to go learn how to do it.
That is what, so shitty social health, right? So you would have a vested.
Yeah, you're bad at making friends. You feel lonely all the time.
That,
deep connection to people.
And understanding that, when we learn new things, our brain is wired entirely different, right? So when you're learning new things, getting out of your comfort zone, that actually pushes you into your superpower. And that's great advice.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We just had one of our audience members just said it's hard to get out of the comfort zone. I was like, hey, we have a whole series on social health too. Today's intellectual health, but we do all 6 aspects of health. Let's keep moving. Shani, can you real quickly remind us what your tip was?
Yes, my tip is combined between reading the sign from reality and what you choose to read.
I like that. Jackson, what are your thoughts on that?
I changed my tip because Shadi had that. I loved it. I was learning to read reality, learning to learn from every experience that you have. We're constantly reading. I wake up in the morning and I read, how do I feel and how do I think? That's my first reading assignment, is to dive into prayer meditation and decide, where am I at as a human being intentionally? So I love her tip.
Thank you.
Nice.
Can I
nice.
give you
I
an
like that.
example about it?
Yeah, sure.
I have a good story that explains this tip in other version. When I drive to my college, sometimes people stop me and ask me money. And in one of this time, I asked this person, "You want money from me, but what do you want to? What do you want, and what you believe that you can give me? I mean, it's I can give you, but you have value that I need. If it will not happen, I will not meet you." So she give he gives me a list of sentences that they were so smart. I was in shock, and I publish it in the local WhatsApp group of this city, and all of the people come to this drive place to get these sentences and give money about it. And
Wow.
I believe I try to read the reality, and I believe that when I did it, this guy got new job, and he was so happy that I was in shock how much little question can make him happy according to something that got in my mind.
That's awesome.
Beautiful sentence.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Hey, Craig, you want to give us some feedback on Shani's
I
tip?
think it's a beautiful sentiment. I mean, the reality of life is everything that we experience. My reality is different than yours, and everybody else that's here.
Yes.
And, being in a room where you're not the smartest person is the most intellectually satisfying thing you could do. And I'm listening to Shani, and it's just, the way you express yourself is just amazing. Don't ever stop, because I could see that light just like coming out, and it is so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of passion just in your responses. I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on. Jackson, can you quickly refresh your tip for us?
Absolutely. It's being selective about what you read by turning to mentors who are where you want to go.
So not only something passionate, like Craig said, but something that someone passionate as well. So Jackson's telling us to get boundaries in what we read, but also to read things about people who we want to be. I like it. All right, Craig, what are your thoughts on Jackson's tip?
100%. 100%. When I wanted to do the 75 hard, I read everything about Andy Frisella. And it was one of those things where like I tried it like 6 times and I passed it twice. It was like one of the hardest things that you could basically do for your life. And what you're saying just makes complete sense. And that's it. It just makes complete sense. There's nothing else I could add to that. I appreciate it.
Shani, what are your thoughts?
Except if I agree with you, I have a question about this tip. What happened when I'm avoid to read something because I'm afraid? And I want to overcome it, but I feel selective about it because I'm afraid.
Can you repeat the question, Shani?
Yes. You said to be a selective.
Mhm.
So I asked if I select something because I'm afraid and I want to stay with my comfort zone.
Ah.
How do you recommend to separate between when I'm afraid and when the specific content is really not for me?
I appreciate that. Do you mind if I answer that, Austin?
Yes. So I guess she's asking.
I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take it head on. So when we're afraid, when we feel fear about moving into a new comfort zone, how do we decide if we should move forward with that or not? Is what I understood. Should we pursue it or should we back off? I wear this rubber band, and I don't wear it for looks. By the way,
but it looks good.
I wear it as a reminder that yes, we should stretch ourselves outside of our comfort zone, but I see so many people manipulating others in these days that say, as a cell, you should stretch yourself outside of a comfort zone. You should always. Well, what happens if you stretch a rubber band too far? If you stretch it too
Ooh.
far, some people say it's going to hurt because they're used to being hurt in life. But other people will say it's going to break. And so, yeah, if you stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone too far, you're going to break yourself. I see a lot of people who've given up on setting goals because they've been beat up so often by others for not hitting their goals, or they beat themselves up so much for forgetting to go to the gym when they set that resolution, or when we set that desire to read that book. I think it's a very intimate and personal question that you can meditate on and decide, is your heart and your mind, is it supporting this idea of consuming that knowledge? If it is, it's worth going through hell and back to achieve that knowledge. The other factor is your environment. If the people around you are not supportive of the move that you're making, be careful. Be careful, because they can tear you down super fast. So you might have to be careful about how you move forward, rather than being reckless and saying, you know what, I'm going to leave this gang. I'm no longer going to participate. Well, you might get shot for leaving that gang. You might get beat up by your spouse for pursuing certain knowledge or certain pathways. So I want to be extremely respectful of the reality that not everybody's blessed with the environment that I have. So be mindful and be heartful, or use your gut, as Austin said, to determine what's right for you in terms of are you ready for that or not? That's not something I can decide for you. That's something you have to decide for yourself.
So when you say it, you invite me and all of the people that watch it to find their limits.
Yeah. Find your own limits. Yeah.
Wow. Look at this insightfulness
Well
on this
said,
episode. Dang, guys, you're killing it. Yeah, so I'm gonna circle a little bit back towards Jackson's tip. He talked about, finding someone that you want, an aspect of their life that you enjoy, and you want to achieve that, and read books by them. Yeah, I just read this quote probably like a week ago while planning for this episode, and let's see if I screw it up, which I will do. So let's make sure I screw it up as little. It was actually, I was trying to find it this morning. I couldn't figure out who shared it, but it's essentially, a book is all of someone's knowledge and what they think is right at that time in life condensed. So if you're trying to get like Andy Frisella, like Craig said, you're doing 75 hard, his book is basically everything that he thinks he knows at that time into a book that you can read in hours, rather than his 40 years of life. So that's kind of a cool thing. Man, guys, this was a good one. You guys got any last bits to say? I think we've gone over everyone's tips, and we're ready for the challenge if you guys are ready to move on to that part.
Yeah, I got something to say real quick. What Shawnee and Jackson were talking about was like with the fear, right? I think most humans feed fear time. And, one of the biggest things we could do is stop feeding fear time. I mean, execute, motivate, inspire yourself, but do it now. Do it, as a person that beat cancer. They told me I had cancer 3 times. They were only right once, and I got the scars for all 3 times. Execute on those ideas now, man. And you don't have time, and that's just it.
Love that.
That's actually the book I'm reading right now. It's all about time and using it well. That's cool. That's crazy. All right, well, you guys ready to check out our daily challenge? We got to come up with something that takes less than 5 minutes, costs $0, and can be done by anyone in Kathmandu to Fiji. Any ideas?
Sure. Go.
I love it. Lead us, Craig.
Just close your eyes. A lot of people think they have to go to Tibet to meditate, prayer, whatever they have to do, right? All you have to do is close your eyes. And I love when people tell me, Craig, I don't know how to meditate. I'm like, you think every day. That's meditation, right? Yeah. And people try to feed fear time. It's all they do is procrastinate. I've been like one of the biggest procrastinators I've ever met. But when it comes down to like really executing and having that time frame that I need to like pursue something, I eliminate everything. I don't have cancer anymore. So there is no, that's all I think about. And it doesn't matter It doesn't matter what comes into my life. You know, I'm going through things right now that most people would just curl up and die over. And I'm just doing it with a smile on my face. You know,
we do have a tip from the audience. We do have a tip from the audience that just came in. Read 10 minutes when you wake up, which is something I do and I support. Jackson, Shani, any tips from you? Go ahead.
Not on your phone, though.
That I agree with. Oh, hey, he says Craig is so badass. Just shout out to Craig.
Woo!
Yeah, not on your phone is super important. And like I feel like the art is lost of like the actual paperback book, but or hardback. But I definitely think that if you don't own books and you don't have them, like, I mean, if I zoomed around, you would see books scattered all over. And I just moved here 4 months ago. If you don't have books lying around your house, maybe that's your tip. Buy 5 the actual paperback book, but. Or hardback, but I definitely think that if you don't own books and you don't have them, like, I mean, if I zoomed around, you would see books scattered all over, and I just moved here 4 months ago. If you don't have books lying around your house, maybe that's your tip. Buy 5 books and scatter them in your house.
I'll play devil's advocate on that. Not because there's not a place for the physical books. I'm an and guy. I like being able to do more than one thing. So in terms of Craig's comment on meditating, oh man, I love that you talked about thinking. I meditate best when I walk, right? It's super important to do. And I would say that everybody that's out there, you're a far better reader than you give yourself credit for. If you find yourself beating yourself up over like, well, I don't really like to read, I would gravitate back to what Shani said. Like every single opportunity is an opportunity to read in some form or fashion. But when I recommend the 5 dysfunctions of a team to my teammates, everybody has to read that the first week they join our company. We all use Audible for that book because that book has 17 different personality types in it. So when somebody's narrating and they can give us the 17 different personas, it's far easier to stay in the confines of what's being taught and not lose your place with which person has which attitude. It makes it far easier to consume that particular material. So some of us are audio learners, visual learners. Some of us read better, right? So we make room for teaching people that it's okay to have a different style for learning. Some of us have to read Braille. Some of us don't have the ability to do that. We got to listen through our ears only. There's lots of ways to consume knowledge.
That's true. Holy cow, guys. This might be our longest episode ever. We have run way over. We already have guests for the next episode of Hearing. So we got to get this challenge done. Yeah. Hurry up, Shani, and then we got to get out of here.
I can recommend tip that I do always 10 minutes in the morning. I have this book. I also recommend it.
The Intention Experiment.
Yes. And I opened this book. I opened this book in my 10 minutes during the day, and I don't try to read. I try to find which word I need to pay attention of. The word that my attention catch, this is my message for this day.
Very cool. All right, guys. I think for the sake of time, we may have to make the challenge just be read at least 10 pages every day. You guys hate that?
I'm all for it, Austin.
On your phone.
All right. What'd you say, Craig?
And just not on your phone.
All right. Yeah. I mean, or maybe your first step, if you haven't read, maybe you just buy a book. Just buy a book and start reading with us. And we'll be posting every day. I'm reading The Road Less Stupid. It's a Keith Cunningham is a guy who became really rich and lost it all by making dumb decisions and how to not make dumb decisions. So that's the point of my life where I'm at.
I've been there. I've been myself. Yeah, I've been there myself.
Awesome, guys. Well, yeah, holy cow. I cannot believe we took this so long. I love it. It was a great one. Super insightful, just on such a simple topic. You guys did great. We're going to sign off, though, and I will see you guys later.
Excellent work, Austin.
Wow, guys. Well, that might have been our longest episode of all time. Didn't think reading would be that crazy, but apparently there's a lot to say. So we had awesome guests. I hope you learned something. Don't forget, check out Tony Lynch and his Grief podcast. We have that linked already there. And don't forget to check out InstaFarm. Shout out to our sponsors. If you want to be a guest or you want to sponsor, or if you have topics for us, please just go to www.millionairesaremade.com, and we will be having another episode here in about freaking 10 minutes. Wow, that's not much time to turn around, but we're going to do it. So we'll see you soon. Spiritual health.